Welcome back to Hannity. Carol Swain, a frequent guest on the Great American Panel, is a professor of political science and law at Vanderbilt University. Sean sat down with her to talk to her about her new book, Be the People, a call to reclaim America's faith and promise.
And joining us now, Dr. Carol Swain. How are you? It's so good to see you.
So great to be here.
It was a great honor to be able to blurb the book for you.
Thank you.
I've known you now for a long time, but I read the book and I discover all these things about you that I didn't. You talked a lot. I didn't know you were a teenage mother.
Yes.
And a high school dropout.
Yes.
I didn't know any of these things.
Well, by the grace of God.
Yeah, and now you're a big professor after but it's a great story, honestly. You even talk about, you never viewed yourself as being disadvantaged because of race or sex or social class.
No, actually, I was in graduate school before I realized that I was oppressed and that someone from my background wasn't supposed to be able to do any of the things that I had actually accomplished.
You mean they told you this?
I learned it in graduate school,
Right.
Theories of oppression and how oppressed, I was as a black woman born in poverty. And when I look back at it now, I don't know if I would have attempted the things that I did if I had known, that all the odds were against me. So for whatever reason, it was as if I had blinders on. I just wasn't aware that I was so disadvantaged.
But is it because your experience you weren't treated this way? I mean,
my mentors were conservative.
Okay.
Mostly white men, and I was sort of, people said, you can do it, and I really felt like the world was a meritocracy and that if I worked hard that I could accomplish things. And I did. I was an honor student, and I did very well. I got early tenure at Princeton. My first book won the highest prize in the profession, and I've won several national prizes, been cited by the Supreme Court, and
that is a touching, great American story. You reminded me a little bit of when I interviewed Justice Clarence Thomas. I don't know, did you ever read the book My Grandfather's Son?
Yes, I have.
Isn't that a great book?
It really is.
It's a terrific book, and I mean, he was tough on him. And, but he realized, how much love he had.
Yes.
From his grandfather. You take on a lot of controversial issues in this book, and I'm going to get to those. But before I do, I think I have defined Obama mania, sort of that tingling feeling, loss of all sense of reason or objectivity, just at the sight of the president. Yes. And I think some people still, in spite of all the negative, statistics about his failed policies, people still buy into it. You described it as young people on radio and TV, they couldn't give a single reason for supporting Obama, and they would just repeat the slogans.
Yes, that's right.
Explain that in detail.
And many of them, just seem to be mesmerized. I'm sure you remember during the campaign when young women were feigning as if they were with some great rock star. And I think that it often happens with the left that when you get into a debate that they immediately start quoting, slogans that you've heard before. And there's no real debate, no substance. And if that breaks down, they start calling names. And so that seems to be just the approach.
I think this time, he got away with platitudes and bumper stickers last time. I think this time it's going to be the only thing he's got. He doesn't have a record to run on. Platitudes, bumper stickers won't work, so it's going to be a pretty vicious campaign.
Well, right now, the youth vote seems to have fallen away, some of that youth vote. And whether or not African Americans and Hispanics stick with him, that remains to be seen. I think the greater problem will be if he can get the turnout, like in the black community. If blacks go to the polls, most of them will vote for him, but how many will actually go to the polls?
You actually take on the issue of race in a way that I'm sure you're going to be criticized for. Just having read it and just watching over the years, you say many African Americans responded to the opportunity to elect a candidate who shared their race and political party. And then you said about whites, you said, I believe they saw an opportunity to prove that they had transcended race by casting a vote for a black man.
Yes.
Do you really believe that people in the black community voted for him because he was African American?
Yes.
Do you really believe whites wanted to show that they had transcended race?
Yes, I even had people tell me, colleagues even tell me that they thought it would be good for America to have a black president. And so it was all this stuff, not that he was the most qualified or even that they agreed with everything he was saying.
Yeah.
They thought it would be good for America's image.
Yeah.
And as I traveled during 2008, you know, strangers, many of them were white, they would come up to me and very proudly tell me they were voting for Barack Obama, you know, because I'm black, and they thought, you know, that would be a great thing to tell me. And so...
well, he got 5% of the black vote in the country? Something
like that.
Yeah. And you even say that with racial polarization, you say that there is reluctance, and this was later in the book, in the black community to criticize him because of his race.
Well, I mean, that remains true today. And it's not just uncommon, it's not just for Obama. There's a reluctance to certainly criticize black liberal leaders. Mm-hmm. But I think the most important thing I say in the book is that America is a country that 78% of the people profess to believe in the Judeo-Christian God. Yet, if you look at the mess the country is in, there's no evidence of that. And I often find people complaining about the state of the nation and the moral decline. And so they're very frustrated. They're on Facebook and Twitter, yet they forget it's we, the people, who are responsible for the officials that are in Washington. And so ultimately, we're responsible for those policies. And I think we can take back our country, and we need to hold them accountable. And so we can't just sit back and point fingers.
It's a terrific book. Be the People, a call to reclaim America's faith and promise. Carol, Dr. Swain, good to see you as always. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you.